Okay then, so we have already output data from the database, and what we're going to be doing in this part is actually allowing a user to send an email to insert based on their unique ID, and it will post a post on the site as them. So what we need to do is, again, I'm going to say it once more. If you haven't watched the email piping tutorial, the introduction, this is going to be really, really useful because I'm going to be using the code from that tutorial, and it's going to make a lot more sense if you follow that through, as well as the fact that you need to set up your email pipe to be able to pipe emails through to a particular script. So I'm going to head over to this is the page that outputs the data, so I'm going to go ahead and close that. This is the page that we pipe email to. So if you have followed the tutorial, you know how to pipe email already. This will make sense to you. Essentially what we're doing is we're grabbing the email content, breaking it up, pulling out bits of data that we need, like the sender ID, which is essentially when we write like alex at email.tagfin.com, this is the sender ID, this is the sender, this is obviously the subject, this is the body. So we use a regular expression here. We grab the sender, which is something like abc123 at email.tagfin.com, sender ID, which is this, from which we send the email back to the user from, subject and message. So we left this with just sort of, you know, passing this email, this data back to the user, but we don't want to do that. We want to actually insert this into the database. So the first step is to require in the connection script, which we've created already, connecting to our database. So we do a .. because we're going back a directory. Remember, in our directory structure, we've got this pass file in here, and we need to go back a directory and include connect.php, like that. So that has pulled in the connection to the database. What we then want to do is go ahead and just get rid of this. We'll keep this for now, but we don't necessarily need this line. We're certainly not outputting a specific reply here. We're going to include an if statement. Basically, we're going to say if the subject and the message are empty, send a message back to the user and just say, sorry, we need a subject and a message here to be able to post your post. Otherwise, we're going to grab the user's ID from their unique key that they've posted with, and then we're going to insert into the database. So we're going to insert a post. So the first step here is just this if statement, or if else statement rather, because we're going to say if this is empty, you know, error, otherwise do something good. We're going to check if, let's just start again there. We're going to check if the subject is empty. So if empty subject is true, that means that there's no data within the subject, and this will automatically trim white space from either side, so you don't need to worry about that. And we're also checking if the message is empty. So if it is, what do we want to do? Well, let's just go ahead and copy and paste this mail function there. We're just going to say, sorry, the message body is going to be, we need a subject and message to allow you to post, or something like that. And we can leave the from header, that's fine. Otherwise, what do we want to do? We want to get user ID from unique ID and post to database table. That's what we want to do. So, and then confirm to the user that their post has been successful, which we can do there, and we can just say something like confirmation, and then just say thanks, we've posted your message. Okay, so get user ID from UID. So once again, when we send an email, we have this as the UID. Now in my case, if I was sending an email here, I would copy this from somewhere, or I might have a link on the site under my user panel or something like that to send an email to this. So this now would be my UID. So this would come through and it would be available here with this sender ID variable. So we need to query the database and retrieve a user ID. So I'm going to create a variable called user ID, and I'm going to set this as the return value of the MySQL result function. Within here, we're going to pass in a query. We're going to get the first result, and the field that we want is the user ID. And here's the query. select user ID from users. That's obvious. We want the user ID here from the users table, which is this. And the where clause is where the UID is equal to. And then in here, what we're going to do is we're going to concatenate on sender ID. Now, it's important that we escape this data as well. So we're going to use the MySQL real escape string function. There. So now user ID will be the user's ID. So we can test this. I can say, thanks, we posted your message, and I can just include user ID on the end. So let's go ahead and test this out in stages. It just makes it, a bit nicer to know that we're doing something, correctly. So what we want to do is we want to go over to our email and we want to say, hello, message, this is a test. Send. Now hopefully we'll get a confirmation email back. And it says, thanks, we posted your message, which we expected. And then there we go, we have 1, which if you have a good memory, user ID of 1. Perfect. So we know that the user ID is successfully being taken from this UID now. So that's the first step. The next step is going in and posting to the database table. So let's just go ahead and get rid of that variable there. This one's fairly straightforward. It's just a standalone MySQL query. We don't need to store it in a variable at all. We're going to insert into posts. We're going to specify the fields that we want to post, which are, let's go over to our post table, the user ID, which we already know now, the subject and the message. We don't need to insert post ID because that's an auto-incremental value. So it will be the user ID, the subject, and the message. And then we specify the values here. So the user ID is going to be an integer, so we don't need single quotes. We just need to concatenate on the user ID. We then need the subject, which we have here, and the message, which we have here. Again, we're going to escape this data, so we're going to concatenate on the result of the MySQL real escape string function of subject, and then in here we want to concatenate on the result of the MySQL real escape string function for message. Okay, so again, it's quite messy, but we're doing what we want. And again, when you incorporate this into your own system, you can tidy it up and let it flow a bit nicer. But anyway, then we send a mail confirmation. Thanks, we posted your message. So let's go ahead and save the changes here. And let's see what we can do here. So another thing that I'm just going to mention is let's go ahead and open up index.php. The users now have the ability to post anything to this page. So we need to take into account that we might have any tags, HTML tags, things like that, scripts. So we want to use the strip tags function around the subject. And we also want to use the strip tags function around the message. So click save. There's no change here. It looks exactly the same, but it just means that any script tags or any sort of HTML formatting tags won't be taken into account. And I know this page is literally just this. It's there's no doc type or head or body or anything like that, but obviously it's just an example. So let's quickly go and test this. I'm going to remove these records from here. So when we refresh the home page, there's nothing. And let's go ahead and try this. So I'm going to write an email. I am going to go ahead over to my database here, and I'm going to copy my unique ID. And I'm going to paste that in there. That should automatically come up. Oops. There we go. So I'm going to put in a subject, love what you've done with the site. It's really great. I love the colors and stuff. So click send. That sends the email, pipes it through, and we get an email. Sorry, we need a subject and message to allow you to post. There we go. That's because I didn't include, I'll show you now why that is. I didn't include message and colon because our regular expression requires, if you remember from the email piping tutorial, requires us to have something, then a colon, then a piece of data. So I'll just do this again. Love what you've done with the site and stuff. Okay, so click send. You might want to give instructions to your users of actually how to send this through. We've got a confirmation email through, thanks we posted your message. So we now come over to our database, our posts table, and you can see that this has been posted with a user ID of 1, the subject that we posted, the message that we posted through from our pass.php script. And on tagfin.com homepage, we have Alex said, love the site and love what you've done with the site and stuff. So we've successfully passed through a message, sending it by email, piping it through to a script, connecting to our database, inserting it in for the user that corresponds to that unique ID, and then we've retrieved this data as well. So that's the end of the tutorial series of basically and very simply passing email data through to a script, posting it to a database to be displayed on a site.